Good afternoon. This is a good crowd. You know, I do about 4 of these type of lectures a year, and I'm really picky on where I go. And it's always with the youth. I've worked with the youth since, well, forever, it seems like. I was married when I was 21 years old, and a year later my wife and I got involved with the Boy Scouts of America, and we've been involved ever since. I can't think of a better and a funner place to come. Today's lecture is going to be a little different, maybe, than what you're used to. I'd encourage you to take a few notes. I'll tell you when you need to write something down, okay? If you want to write something down, you can, but there's going to be a test afterwards. You'll be graded. Nah, just kidding. That's not my job to do that. I hope, though, that when you walk away today, that you remember something inside here, more so than here. I've found in life that when we're touched here, we take it with us, and it changes who we are and what we're going to be. Let me tell you a little bit about my history so I can set the stage for you. I grew up in northern Wyoming on a farm, believe it or not. I was a typical Wyoming cowboy. I broke horses, they broke me. I learned how to garden from my grandfather. In fact, all my work skills I learned from my grandfather. All my caring I learned from my other grandfather. One was all about love and fun and just a pure soul that loved no matter what. The other one was all about work and duty and making sure I did a good job and taught me those basic skills. Those served me well throughout my life. And so that's kind of the basics where I came from. I went to BYU. And because that's the only place I knew. I thought that was UVU at that time, believe it or not, was downtown in Provo, just off 200 West. It was a couple little white gray buildings with a round roof. I still remember Utah Technical College. It was like it had 2,000 students. I don't know, you probably remember that, right? But it was a great little technical college that were really respectable. I was walking through the halls with Isaac today, and I was here about a year ago too, but I tell you, this is like a freaking city. I just came from Hong Kong last Saturday, and downtown Hong Kong has nothing compared with the halls of UVU. Unbelievable. You guys have got an unbelievable college. Think about that. 2,000 people to 32,000? Is that right? Is that what I understand? Yeah. In 30 years. That, to me, a lot of you guys aren't even 30 years old, so that like forever ago, but for me it was just almost like yesterday. It's an incredible school that you've got here. You should be really proud of it and be glad that you get to do this. When I went to BYU, I was going to be an elementary education teacher. I've always loved kids, and I was going to teach kids grades 1 through 6. That was my whole goal in life, is to be a teacher. I could either be a vet and clean the hind ends of cows, or I could be a school teacher. And I was going to be a school teacher. I thought that was a lot more fun. What I found a couple years through that is I had a little bit of a knack for business. And my dad was running a little store called Provo Craft. You guys ever heard of that? Yes. Okay, it's a legend. And we had one little store on Center Street years ago. And that when I came in with my dad, we did about $200,000 the first year. And about 2 years later, I forgot to go to class. Honestly, I absolutely forgot to go to Music Appreciation 101. I remember it was a required class for my elementary education major. And it just like over my head. I was having so much fun in the business, I spaced it out. And that was decision day for me. I remember it as clear as any other day in my life. That was this day that I decided what I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to be in business. I guess, is everybody here in business major? A few of you are just snuck in? Well, your business, Brandon. No, you're going to be one of those attorneys, right? Those, okay. So anyway, but that was my aha moment. And I decided that day that after I finished that semester, it was about toward the end of the semester, I was going to give it a crack. And so I went through 22 years after with my nose to the grindstone, and I played with wiggly eyes and pom-poms and artificial flowers and all sorts of fun stuff. And all through those years, though, I loved to tinker, and I loved to play with things and make things. And one of the things that I learned throughout my business career, that things change. On my desk in the back, carved in rock, I have, if nothing changes, nothing changes. What that means to me is that I have to effectuate change all the time in my life. I'm the instigator of that. I don't want it to be forced upon me. I want to be ahead of the ball game. I want to be able to get out there and make the change before that it's forced upon myself. What's your name? I know you.
Yeah, Darren Henry.
Okay. You've been around.
Yeah, I was in your ward for a while.
Yeah, okay. I never forget a face, but boy, the name sometimes, just doesn't come to me very fast. I've got Partzheimer's. But where was I? Anyway, I was distracted, right? Squirrel? So anyway, I don't like to be forced to the change, so I am always looking for what's coming, what needs to be changed. And so wiggly eyes and pom-poms only get you so far in life. And we started this little business, scrapbooking. It was a phenomena. At one time, it took over the world in the arts and craft business. I know some of you probably heard of scrapbooking, right? It ain't what it used to be. I'll tell you that for sure. And I'm not in it anymore because I was willing to change. But what happened during this time is I got this hair-schemed idea that people are cutting things with scissors, right? Then they started making dies, and they'd cut it with a blade and all sorts of stuff. And I saw this product at a show, and it was a great big thing about this long. It was $30,000, and this thing was cutting out vinyl and paper and stuff. And I thought, God, that is the neatest thing. But who can afford $30,000? And so we put our heads together, and we came out with our first cutting machine called Cricut. Cricut had 1,800 individual electronic parts. I absolutely knew nothing about electronics. I didn't know a diode from a resistor. And probably half of people in here, if not all of you, may not know the difference. But what I found is that just because I didn't know it doesn't mean I can't do it. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And so we brought a team together. We put together a plan, and we had a vision of what we thought we could do. And we took a $30,000 machine and we shrunk it down to $300. And we made little cartridges, and that could cut. Each cartridge could cut in combination about 100,000 different images and sizes. And I remember people saying that can't be done in the craft industry. No one's going to spend $300 or $80 for an item because they're used to spending 39 cents, 99 cents. It's a stretch to spend $5 in that industry. But we didn't believe them. We believed that we had a product, and if we could build something that was going to last and make people's life easier, that we were going to be successful. And boy, were we ever successful. That thing hit the market, and by the time somebody came along and wanted to pay me more than what I thought it was worth, we had sold over 2 million of these machines and 50 million of these cartridges. Isn't that amazing? It's like you can't even make that up in a novel. It was like magic. It worked. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why that worked in just a few minutes. that set the stage. That was one of the life-changing things that happened, though, in my life. It taught me that with the right people, the right vision, the right work ethic, the right product that we were willing to guarantee unconditionally, that we could be successful. At the peak of our company, we went from $200,000 business in 1978 to over $270 million worth of business in 2005. So it was a long period, but we had a lot of good success. And the cricket machine and some other stuff we did before it, kind of stepping stones, step by step, and I was willing to change and willing to challenge ourselves is what really made us successful. So with that part of my history as kind of a base, let me tell you what happened after that, and what I am today, and what drives me, what my why is. Has anybody heard of what is your why? No? Yeah, Brandon, of course, you have. Yeah, Isaac, you have. When I say what is your why, it's why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do what you do? What drives you every single day? What's your passion? And by the way, it can change. Nothing wrong with that. But it's what makes us get out of bed. 3 things drive whys. Anybody can guess? 3 basic things will drive, and this you might want to write down. 3 things will drive whys. What do you think that is? Any guesses? Money? Yep, that could be one of them. Security is a good one. Fear? Let's write down fear. Okay? Because money or security security can boil down to fear. It can. Doesn't always, but it can. But fear is one of the ones I'm looking for. Okay, fear. Put that down on your bottom of your list. Things that drive our why. Fear being the bottom of the list. What do you think? The next tier up. Passion could be one. I'm looking for a little different word, though.
Makes a difference.
Okay. Someone said love. Put that on the top of your list. And there's something in between, the middle of that.
Enjoy. Happiness. Duty.
Ah! Duty. Okay. What I found, and by the way, this isn't Robert Workman. There's some basis behind this. There's the 3 elements that drive our whys. It boils down to basically 3 things. Fear being the lowest thing that drives us. Duty being the next tier up. And love being the top tier. I have lived in fear in my life. I don't anymore. I can honestly say I don't live in fear. Because I'm almost 60 years old. You know, I'm racing to the end of my life. And I'm not saying I'm going to die tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure 50 years from now I'll be gone. Pretty certain. I hope so. I don't want to be laying around here and drooling and all that other crap. You know, that's for old folks. I don't want to do that. But 50 years from now, most of you guys and girls will still be here. Maybe today you're driven somewhat by fear. That's the worst way to find your why. If you get up every morning and you have a fear that, you know, the world's going to come to the end, or you're not going to have enough money, or blah, 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 you know, that's really something that I hope you can overcome. It's no way to live. Duty. That's a pretty good place to work from. In my opinion, I still work from duty. A lot of the times. I don't love everything I do, honestly. But I still do it because I feel a duty to people, especially. The older I get, it's all because of people that I feel that duty. But love, next tier up, love of duty, duty and love, if you combine them together, to me, that's what can really drive our why or our passion to what we do in life. Does that make sense to anybody? I don't see anybody sleeping yet. Okay. So write those things down. That's what drives our why. Okay? I'm going to ask a few with that context in mind. I'm just going to point to a few people. I'll give you about 30 seconds to think about what is your why. Why do you get up in the morning? What drives your passion? With those three things in mind, I'm going to start pointing here. And I just want to hear. There's no right or wrong answer. It's okay. So, let's start with you.
Have a good future.
Okay. So your why is to have a good future. Anything more specific?
To open my own business.
Okay, that's a little more specific, right? Okay. All right. This little young lady right here. You got a great face.
Thanks. I think kind of like him, just to, since I'm in school, just to make sure that I'll be able to have something that's going to sustain me later.
Okay. Okay, the next answer better not be the same. What was your name?
Brenna.
Brennan?
Brandon.
Brandon and Brennan. Cool. Okay, guy with the baseball cap.
Well, the reason I woke up this morning was so I could graduate. I guess that's my why right now.
Okay. Fear, duty, love. What is it?
Combination of all of them.
What's your name?
Josh.
Okay. I don't think that's what your passion is.
It's
I
not
don't
my
believe
passion,
it.
but it's cool.
I don't think that's your why. I'm going to challenge you on that. You don't look like that's your why. What do you like to do off campus?
Off campus,
What you love to do?
I love business. I love sports.
Sports, okay. Business. Why do you love business?
I love competing. I love the
Oh.
competition in business.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so we're getting a little closer, I think. So the guy in the plaid right here. Yeah, what's your name?
I'm Robbie.
Robbie? Good name. I'm Robert.
Yeah, I'm Robbie.
My mom got away with calling me Robbie.
So my passion, I want to spend time with people in marketing, especially creative media marketing.
Okay. I'm going to ask, that's good. People?
Yes.
People. Okay, I want you to hold that thought for a minute, because we're going to come right back to that. People. Okay, let's get somebody on the very back row, the guy with the the Y hat.
My passion, I guess, and the reason I wake up would be my goal is to become a dentist. So everything I'm doing is to get into becoming a dentist and owning my own business.
A dentist, really? What's your name?
Tad
Tad. Why do you want to be a dentist?
fascinates me. I love the intricacies of it. Working with people is something I'm really good at, and the science behind it is something that I love.
You said people. Okay. Does anybody, if you think about your why, and write down this note. I want you to think about your why. Here's an assignment for you. This is really important. Identify at least one why that drives you every single day. I'm guessing a lot of you are going to have people somewhere in your list. So let me tell you, and let me go to the next phase of my life. After a group came and wanted to pay me all this money for this cricket machine, I thought, well, if it's worth that much for you, I sure as heck am going to sell it to you. Because I think I'm never going to get another deal like that again in my life. And they also gave me a decent wage to stay on and consult and help them to develop other products. And so I stayed on for 5 years. And during that time, and Isaac told you a little bit about the story. Now let me tell you the rest of the story. I have always, and my wife and my family have always been humanitarians. It's part of our nature. It's how we grew up. We were a community. We had to serve each other. There was no choice. We just did it. Because that's what we were taught, and that's what we did. The whole community, 2,000 people, Lovell, Wyoming. Have you ever heard of a Lovell, Wyoming? Anybody?
I have.
Oh, how have you heard of it?
I just heard the name. I don't really.
That's where everybody comes from. They never go back. There's thousands of us out there.
I didn't hear anything more. I don't know.
It's one of the most beautiful areas in Bighorn Basin, northern Wyoming. Beautiful mountains, beautiful rivers, clean, still, pristine. It's a beautiful place to be from. Where was I? Squirrel?
Humanitarian.
Oh yeah, there you go. Thank you. So humanitarian's always been a part of it. So after I sold the company, I've been traveling to China for almost 28 years. I spend probably 3 to 4 months a year, or every year there, and I have been for 27, 28 years. I just got back from a 3-week stint on Saturday. And I was sitting in Shenzhen. It was about 2006. And I was eating breakfast. I had a colleague who was part of Provo Craft. I was still consulting at the time. And while I was waiting for him to come down, his name was Bob Monson. There are thousands, picture this, thousands of hotels in Shenzhen, China. Today, it's about a city with the metropolis area of about 11 million people. I was sitting in this little breakfast, and I noticed this group of people over there. One was black, one was Northern African, it looked like an Arab guy. The other was Chinese. The other guy's white, looked like a Westerner. Had no idea where he's from. And my colleague came down, and Bob says, "Ron, how are you?" Ron said, "Bob, what are you doing here?" Ron was from Salt Lake City. The little black guy was from Congo, Africa. The Arab, never talked to him. Chinese, I never talked to him. But Phil Malula was also living in Salt Lake City. He was in China, and he was trying to do something for his country. I thought Africa was a country. I didn't know that there was actually little, they talk about Congo. I thought, Congo, that must be a river or something, out of Africa, the Congo River, and, the old movies and that sort of stuff. And anyway, I believe in karma. I don't believe that things just happen by accident. I believe there's a reason why we do what we do. There's no accidents in life. I believe if you pay attention, now this is important, you write this down, guys and gals, okay? It's another thing you gotta write down. Pay attention to those moments that come your way. Don't dismiss them. When you feel the hairs go up on your arms, on your necks, pay attention to that. That's there for a reason. It's a gift. It's magic. Whatever you want to call it, karma, yin yang, I don't care what you want to call it. It's the real. It's not fake. It's supposed to be there. Pay attention to it. There's a secret to what you may become. It might be a next step. It might be a stumbling forward moment that I would call stumbling forward. I paid attention. And I met with Phil, Ron, here in Salt Lake City, and he intrigued me about Congo. He told me about the history and about the devastation and the people and how hard it was, how hard life was. And he talked me into going over there. And people said to me, "Are you crazy?" And they started telling me all about Congo. Out of 182 nations, Congo is 182 on the rock bottom of where you can do what you want to do. What I wanted to do was to teach people how to take care of themselves. I already had the vision of what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I already named the name of what I wanted to call it. I called it Tai-Fi, called Teaching Individuals and Families Independence Through Enterprise. I already had that all set up in my mind with my wife. We thought we'd go back to China, maybe go to Mongolia and do that. But God had another purpose, and we paid attention to that moment. So Phil invited me to go. I went to Congo, and I looked around, and I didn't say this out loud. I didn't think it out loud, but this is how I acted. If God is not going to do anything here, then by God I will, because these people are in trouble. And I never saw as much devastation or deprivation from my perspective. After 7 years working in Congo, I found out that God was alive and well. I was lucky I didn't get struck down by lightning. But Congo was the hardest thing next to raising 8 children that I've ever done in my entire life. The people in Congo are sweet. They're innocent like children. But the corruption level there is what's holding them back. Are you from Congo? Where are you from? Cameroon, almost like Congo. It's Cameroon, same language. I don't know what the French did to some of those countries over there, but they didn't leave much of a legacy, I'll tell you. But the people, though, are really sweet, aren't they? And but there's a lot of corruption. Well, I used to have hair. I had more before I went to Congo. And now I just shave it with a real short shaver. Do it all by myself, by the way. That's another thing I learned. You can cut your own hair when you lose it. Not a problem. And it's always in style. So anyway, let me tell you, how much have I got, Isaac? Because I got to hurry, right? I got 20 minutes, then there are a few questions, right? Okay, I'll keep it to that. This is important, though, and then I'll get on to some 8 things I want you to write down. That's going to be really important for your business. When I went to Congo, and I looked at the devastation, we wanted to do some work. We wanted to teach people how to take care of themselves. But what we found is we couldn't do it without power. I got out in the bush the first time. Sun comes up at 5:30, goes down at 5:30. It is like clockwork. Boom, 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 boom. 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark. And it's weird. I'm telling you, it's weird. It's like within 15 minutes, either side of daylight and darkness, it just goes. And we couldn't do our work without power. So I started looking around, started studying about electricity. If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? I had a basis of diodes and electronics. I knew nothing about alternative energy. My first study was 6 inches thick of information. I paid someone to get it to me. I looked at it. I never read it. This thing sucks. I went to college a long time ago. I sure is not going to read this book. I'm not going to do it. So, but what I can do is I really know how to take a big commercial cutter and make it into a plug-and-play system. So using that basis, we went to work and we developed a product called Go Zero. And what we learned is that there are what I call ground zero needs. This is the basis that our companies work from. Ground zero needs. To me, those are needs that are universally needed. I want to talk to you about unintentional consequences for good. We went to Congo to try to teach people how to take care of themselves. What we found was our next step and more of our why. What we found there is what really it meant to know what ground zero needs were. And so we picked 4 areas that we thought, putting our skills together, we could do to help the people of Congo, but just as importantly, how could we help the human race? And so we put together our first little cricket machine. I spent my own money on it. I brought it to the board, to our Provocraft board. And I said, I've got this little thing here. It looks like a torpedo. It disperses electricity. I can gathered from the sun, it's plug and play. Don't you think that's cool? And one of our board members looked at me and said, Robert, why don't you just stick to your core competency? That just pissed me off. I said, I'll show you my core competency. I thought my core competency was making really cool products. And this was the coolest thing since Christmas. All he knew about was a frickin' spreadsheet. And by the way, he's a good friend of mine. And now he tells me, well, I knew you were going to do it. Yeah, whatever. But let me tell you something, what I found. I thought my core competency was making cool product. What I found really, and this is the most important, one of the most important discoveries of my life, unintentional consequences of good, is what I found my real core competency was people. So remember we talked about what's your why. I'm going to bet that if you don't have a good relationship with a person, or if you don't want a good relationship with a person, you're not a very happy person. And you better discover a little bit more about yourself. Because if your why doesn't include a person, and if you don't get good, really good, and your core competency isn't about people, I really don't care what you do in business, you're going to fail. You're either going to fail financially or you're going to fail miserably as a person, and you're not going to leave a good mark on this life. That's the truth. No shortcut. It's honestly the truth, folks. Believe it or not, I don't care. It's the truth. And I think you know that to your very core, because either you're happy because you've got a good relationship, or you're sad and unhappy. And it all comes down to that. You better get good at people. That better be your core competency no matter what you want to do in business. Think about that. Write that down. It's important. Have you guys ever heard of a core values? Okay, I'm going to drop a diagram here. Isaac, were you able to find a?
I gave it to you.
You did? Marker?
It's right there by your water bottle.
Aha! It's black. Okay, I want you to think about something real quick. It's the only thing I'm going to put on the board today. This is something I've learned in life. We're going to call it core values. Mine and theirs. Assignment. I want you to write down what you think your core values are. Core values are those things that you can make snapshot decisions on. You don't even have to think about it. If you have to think about it too much, you haven't probably embraced that core value. So here's your core values. We don't have time to write them down, but your assignment is to write down what your core value is. Then, I want you to think about the people that you associate with, their core values, and write that down. What I want you to think about really hard is this area right here. What are our core values together? The more you have in common with the people that you work with, the happier you're going to be. When we hire people for Goal Zero, we put them through a ringer. We want to make sure that their core values are aligned with ours, and we train them about core values and the importance of it. Because we have to see each other every single day, and we want to work together. So when you're developing your businesses, you better think about this. Some people, when you go and meet them, you immediately fall in love with them, don't you? You don't know why. There's just this attraction. If you analyze it, you're going to find that there's a lot of middle ground here. And I'm not saying that middle ground is right or wrong. I'm not going to judge that, by the way. That's not my place. What I'm saying is that if you're going to be in business and be successful, you've got to work with people that have as many core values in common as you do. makes life a whole hell of a lot easier. It's miserable if you don't. Just absolutely miserable. So, assignment. I want you guys to write what I would call your personal constitution. Benjamin Franklin wrote his personal constitution when he was 27 years old. He wrote 12 different things down. He took it to his friend. Some of you may have heard this story. He said, this is what I'm going to live my life with. His friend looked at it and said, well, you're missing one thing. He said, what is it? He said, humility. And Benjamin Franklin sat down and said, well, okay, I'll put that on there. He never mastered it. And he admitted it. And you know why? Any guesses why he didn't master it? It wasn't his. I have on my desk STM. It's red letters. Any guesses what STM stands for? In my mind, it's a secret code. No guesses? Now you're going to know a little bit more about my personality. To the world, when they ask if I'm being nice that day, it's stop the madness. To people who know me real well, like you just are going to get to know me a little better, it's screw the man. Okay? I don't like people to tell me what I should be. And you shouldn't either. It's nothing wrong with getting suggestions from people. But like Benjamin Franklin, make sure when you write your personal constitution, whatever that's going to be, maybe it's 8 items, maybe it's 6, what are the things that are going to drive you every day to make these decisions? Make sure they're yours. And think about it deeply. That's what's going to make you successful and happy in life. Okay, one more thing. You guys are going to go into business, most of you. Maybe you're going to go into business for yourself. You're going to work for somebody if you're going to be a productive citizen. These principles are important. 8 principles. I'm going to put them up on the wall. This is from the Franklin Institute. If you're going to go into your own business, especially, here it is. These are 8 things that you have to incorporate. Remember, we've just gone through an exercise, core values, what drives you, what's your why, blah, blah, blah. These are really, really important if you're going to go into business for yourself. You must have a product that you're willing to totally, unconditionally guarantee. If you don't have that much passion, just don't do it. Surround yourself with platinum people. You cannot do it yourself. You got to learn to let go, to do what you do well, and let other people do what they do well, and lead. That's why I went back. If it's not about people, you cannot lead people. You won't surround yourself with platinum people, because guess what? They won't want to come to you. And remember the core value middle thing? You don't even have to look for them. They'll come to you if you're in a good place. Passion. If you leave this room and don't feel the passion that I have, then I don't know what's wrong with you. You didn't get it. And maybe we ought to have a talk afterward. You've got to believe deep down in your gut of what you're providing can change the world. You better believe the goal zero, bare bones, we believe we're going to change the world. There's 4 areas of emphasis that we work on. Power, because we believe in a modern world you cannot exist, you cannot grow, you cannot educate without power. Everything. People here are taking notes on their devices. It's going to get better. It's going to be a lot better. We just have to learn how to balance it. Power is important. Bare bones, which you don't see here, shelter to us is important. Food is important. And water, pure water, is important. Those are ground zero needs that we work on. There's got to be a sense of urgency. Some people want to wait until they got everything perfect. I'm telling you, hello, it doesn't work that way. You got to take a step forward. You got to stumble forward. Don't be afraid. Don't let people tell you that that's not your core competency. That's bull pucky. I don't think I can swear here. Anyway.
It's a state school.
It is? Okay. No, you might be right about that, but I won't, because there's probably sensitive ears here. A sense of urgency. Guys, we are moving today at the speed of light. We've never lived in a more exciting time. What was your name again?
Maureen.
Maureen, you've been around 50 years, 72 years. Let me tell you, I am a diplomat. I never guess people's age. Once we get gray hairs, it's up to you to tell me how old you are. You've seen a lot of changes, though, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
In my almost 60 years, I've seen a lot of changes. You've seen more.
They dropped the atomic bomb when I was a kid.
Yeah, I just came from Japan 2 years ago, or 2 weeks ago. I was, I know, I mean, ground zero and is really, they know that. I'll tell you. There's a sense of urgency. We have got to move fast. Financial success must always be a byproduct of some other success. What does that mean to you, real quick? Any one hand? Anybody brave enough? How about this one right here? It's about people, right? That's really important. Customer service. Take care of your customers better than anyone else. I used to be a United Airline loyal customer up to about 8 years ago. And for about a year, when United was going through all their stuff, they treated me like crap. And I switched to Delta. And now I'm a loyal Delta customer. I just got treated like crap in Hong Kong by Delta. I told them about it too, by the way. But customer service, take care of them better than anyone else. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can employ your constitution. I just gave you an assignment. Write your constitution, folks. That'll be a driver to what you do in business. And the last thing, this isn't about religion. It has nothing to do with religion. I've traveled all over the world. I've studied a lot of faiths. There's good in everything. It's an absolute, though. You have to believe in a higher power or a faith in God. I would call it faith in God, but a higher power than yourself is what that's really all about. Those 8 principles, if you will deploy them, study them, write your constitution, make sure that you know what your core values are. Those are going to be important elements in your success in your business. I promise you. It's like magic. There's no shortcuts. I promise you there's no shortcuts, guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's work, but it can be a joy. Every day I get up at 4 o'clock. I can't wait to drive an hour to be with what I call my kids. Our president of our company, Goal Zero, is only 36 years old. Let me tell you what passion does to a company. We launched in 2009 with just one product to test it. We did $250,000 that year. The next year, we tested the market a little more. We did $1 million. Then we were ready to go. We had our team in place. We had platinum people in place. 2011, we did $17.5 million. 2012, we did $33 million. And with our contracts this year, we're going to do $75 million. That's what happens when you follow, that can happen when you follow these principles. Of course, we also had a lot of money behind us. That's just a side note, but when you grow that fast, you have to. Okay, questions? Anybody? Yes?
When you first started with your cutting machine, and you didn't know exactly a lot about the machine itself, but you somehow found the perfect platinum people you needed. How did you find them?
Okay, now, you're not, this is the absolute truth. Remember when I talked to you, if you're living your core values, they come to you. Now that might be oversimplified, but it's like a magnet, and it's real. what I really did is started networking out to the people that were within this inner circle. And they knew people who knew people that were within this inner circle. And really quickly able to pull together the right team because we had the shared core values and we found the skill sets then that we needed within that. Does that make sense? Okay, yes.
Were you ever broke or go backwards?
Yes, great question. We grew Provo Craft,
They sold out, right?
they did, and they're not doing very well right now because they forgot their core values, to be honest.
Oh, so it's a new company.
Yeah. But yeah, we almost went bankrupt one time. We made 0.5% that year, and that was just so we wouldn't break the bank covenants. And what we had to do is retrench, back up. We took a pay cut. That was at the 9 million mark. Remember it to this day. And we put a plan together. We cut out all the fat, and we just went to work with Platinum People. We had a goal that each year we were going to increase our, the next year we had to be at least 3% profit. But then thereafter, we would increase it only by 0.5% so that we would grow it consistently and that it would be a solid company. It wouldn't be a one and done. It'd be something that was going to last. But yeah, there's scary times
So you
in business.
Platinum people were broke too.
We were all broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we had enough that we could squeeze by. So, any other questions?
I think anybody that wants to stick around and ask questions is welcome to, but let's give a round of applause.
Okay. Thank you.